Welcome to part 1 of Competency 14 practice. This competency is part of domain 3, which is 19% of your test score. In this video, we are working with types of geometric transformations. Before we begin, let's make note of some common matrix transformations. Now, in this first section, I'm using the TI-84. I am going to focus on the linear algebra approach. Now you will see here in the pink circle where we have kind of circled this column. This is more the approach you will be teaching the 7th graders taking the 8th grade test, and more so your Algebra 1 students either in 8th grade or in 9th grade. Not my favorite approach. My opinion is that we should teach it as linear algebra. When you go to college, you realize that that's really what you need. But what we have circled in pink and the way that they teach it is more of a mental approach, an understanding approach. So maybe that's approach that you need to use, okay? You can draw these things out and figure them out quite simply. Either way, this is how I'm going to use it as far as more a matrix approach. Number 1, using the transformation vector 3i minus j, if point C lies on AB and the coordinates of C are 0 and 14 over 5, what is the location of C prime? Okay, we really don't need to worry about that segment AB. They give you that in case you want to draw this. We are not going to draw this. We're just going to use some linear algebra. So let's set up C as a vector itself. In this case, that will be 0 and 14 over 5. Okay. All right. Now, I'm just drawing straight lines. As you know, for vector notation, we really need to do that. Okay, but anyway, I'll use straight lines in the future. Okay, and we are adding because we're translating. What are we adding? We're adding 3 and the -1. That is our vector that is going to translate this to. Well, what do we really have? We have 0 plus 3, 14 over the 5 minus, let's use 5 over 5 because that equals 1. So that gives us 3, and 14 minus 5 is 9 over 5. Now, of course, if we're going to write this as a point, we are writing 3 and 9 over 5, okay? And that gives us option D. Oh, it's not option D, I'm sorry. Sorry. C, yes, option C. Yeah, I looked at that and I didn't even pay attention to it being upside down. Okay, now looks like we've got a small typo here. That is number 2. Okay, great. Point D also lies on AB, and the coordinates of its image, B prime, are, okay, so they're kind of going backwards here. They're giving us the image and not the actual point we begin with, which is 2 and 12 over 5, using the same translation vector in question 1. What are the coordinates of D? Okay, so we need to think of this kind of as going backwards, like you're subtracting, okay? So what should it really look like? Okay, so we have vector, let's say X and Y, right? Those are our vector D. X and Y is represented in our vector notation. And if we add that to the 3 and -1, okay, that would equal, okay, that would equal 2 and the 12 over 5, which would be my prime, okay? But instead, we need to find out where we started. Well, how do we get that? That means that our D, which is, let's say right here, D equals XY, that is going to equal our prime of 2 and 12 over 5 minus the 3 minus 1 vector. Okay, and what do we get in the end? Well, what we get is 2 minus 3, and then 12 over 5 minus 5 over 5. Now, that actually becomes minus 1 is our x value, okay? And then 12 minus 5, that is, oh, I did that wrong. Minus a minus becomes a plus. That's important to know. Here, let me write this here. Here, let's go to highlighting and I'll show you. Here, we have a minus and we have a minus. Okay, so that really should be plus. That's my boo-boo. I looked over and I said, that's not right. Okay, so now what we really have is 17 over 5. So our x value is -1. So these go away. And then looks like A is our option because our y value is 17 over 5. And that is correct. Now, this one is a little different. It says use the triangle GHJ with the coordinates, and they give you GH and J. And here is our translation vector for the next few questions, which are 3, 4, and 5. Okay, you can draw this out. I am not going to draw this out. Instead, I'm going to use the vectors and show you how this can be done. Okay, we don't need our calculator quite yet, but we will in a moment. Okay, so for this one, we are still not using the calculator. All right, so what do we have? Well, I'm going to go ahead and put this in our vector notation. First, I have G. G is -2, -3. Okay, then I will add that to this translation vector because what are the coordinates of G prime? They're not asking us to do anything else in this case but translate. So I have 5 and 2. So that means -2 plus 5 becomes 3. And -3 plus 2 becomes -1. And do we have an option? Yes. That will be option A. Number 4. What are the coordinates of the image of the midpoint of HJ? Okay, I drew this segment that's part of the triangle that they discussed prior. That was a triangle GHJ. So they are saying we are only working with the segment H2J. I have it already pre-labeled. Okay, we have some remnant here. Okay, so what we need to do is first find the midpoint. Then we will shift that to using the translation of 5i plus 2j. Okay, so we can see on the graph, I'm not just going to use a graph, I'm using the graph to help you. Okay, we can see already that this is our midpoint. And quite obviously, this midpoint is at 5 and 1. Okay? Now, if we translate this by hand from the midpoint, okay, we will shift to the right 5 because it's 5 eyes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Then we shift up 2 because it did say 5i. Yes, 5i plus 2j. So that means positive 2. So there's 1, 2, and that will get us a shift to this point. So this is the vector that translates, okay? And that would get us our new, it'll be our double prime, okay? Either way, or rather our image of our midpoints, that won't be double prime. If we call our midpoint M, then this would be M prime. Okay, either way, let's do this numerically, showing what we're doing. First, we need our midpoint. So what are we going to do? So that means that we have to get a midpoint. That means we start like this. We say 4 plus 6. That's from one point to the next. Divide by 2. And then we will say minus 3 plus 5. And we divide by 2. So what is it we really have at the end? Well, 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 divided by 2, obviously, is 5. Okay? And then minus 3 plus 5 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. This we can call M, our midpoint. And then from there, we need to take that midpoint. Actually, I am going to get rid of this. And we're just going to add. Now we just add our vector, our transformation vector, which is plus. And then we have 5 and 2. That's our transformation vector. We add it. So then we have 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. 10. 10, 3 would be our M prime. Okay, and that all works out. Okay, so if we start here at our or start where we at the origin, rather, I'm sorry. Start at the origin, that is 10, go up, it's 3. And there we have it. Okay, so number 5 says point L prime is an image of L which lies on the triangle GHJ if the coordinates of L prime are 5.5 and 1.5. What are the coordinates of L? Okay, what is it we really are doing? What are we really shooting for? Well, sorry about that. Oh, goodness. If I could write time, it would all be good. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have X and Y. X and Y, that's going to equal our L. We took our L that we don't know. That's why I'm putting the coordinates. What would be X and what would be Y? And then what happened? They said that we added our vector, our translation vector of 2, 5 to that. And in the end, we came out with our prime, which is the 5.5 and the 1.5. Okay, and that's our prime. So what is it we really need to do? We need to take our L prime that we have, and then we subtract the translation, kind of like going backwards. All right, so that means that L equals X, Y, and that actually equals 5.5. minus 5 and 1 and a half minus 2. This obviously gives us 1/2 and negative 1/2. And we have that option right here. That'll be D. Okay, now let's go to number 6. This one will be a little different, and I'll show you this this is where I'm going to start showing things with matrices on the calculator. A glide reflection is done for point T, located at -1, 3, as follows. It will translate using the translation vector of 2i plus j, that's 2 and 1, then reflect across the x-axis. What are the coordinates for t prime, which is the result of the transformation? Okay, what are we really doing? This is what we're actually doing. We are taking our given of -1 and 3. Then we add it to our translation vector, okay, because we're shifting it over. Okay, this means that we have 1 and 4. That is our first prime. Okay, now we need our double prime, our t double prime. So that means, now this is where things will be a little different. This implies that we are, if you want to, you can go back and rewind the video and go back and look at what we need. They're asking for a reflection over the x-axis, and that is a matrix of 1, 0, 0, minus 1. Then we multiply it to our prime. Okay, that would be our t prime of 1 and 4. Okay, and if you're familiar with matrices, this is a really simple matrices, just to do your element multiplication, but do it element by element. So I have 1 times 1 is 1 plus 0, because 0 times 4 is 0. So that gives me 1, and that is correct. But then I have 0 times 1 plus -1 times 4. Well, that's -4. And that gives me my t double prime. And I see that. Oh, sorry. Okay, and I actually see that it is option. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. What am I looking at? Oh, it's option D. Oh, I don't know why I circled that. Okay, and there we go. But let's do this on the calculator so you get an idea of what we're up to here. Okay, so let's say second, and then go to our matrices. You need to go over to edit, and what I am going to set up is I am going to say matrices A times matrices B equals. Okay, so I will push enter because it's highlighted to edit matrices A. And I want that to be a 2 inner by 2 inner. I just made it a 2 by 2. And see how it pops up. So I want 1 inner. It already has 0. So I'm going to go over, and then I want 0 here. I enter, and then -1. Make sure that you're pressing that negative and not using the subtraction. Now push enter. Okay. And I'm going to back out and do B. So second, matrices. Go to edit and then go down to number 2, which is your B. Instead, though, I want that to be a 1. Oh, no, I'm sorry, a 2 by 1. Excuse me. A 2 inner by 1 inner. Okay. All right, so for that, I want the number one's already entered, so let's arrow down and push 4. Okay, because remember, I'm rotating. I have a rotation times my t prime. Okay, and now back out. Now let's do this. Second matrices. Now this is what I want. I just want to pull it. I've made it. So push enter because it's highlighted on A. Now times, go back and go back to your matrices, go down to your number 2, okay? Now push enter. And there's what I want. It sets it up. Now, if you're not used to looking at the way the matrices are, as far as the calculator gives you a vector, which is also a dot. It is a point, and it's the T double prime we are looking for. Just make note of the differences if you haven't taken those courses before. Okay. Number 7, a glide reflection is done for the point V located at -3, -4 as follows. It will translate using the translation vector of -2i plus 3j, then reflected across the line of y equals x, which is your identity line. What are the coordinates of v double prime, which is the result of the transformation? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and just translate. Okay, so that means that we have -3, -4, and we will add that to -2 and 3, which gives us a -5 or -5 and -1. Okay, that's just our V prime, but we need to show V double prime. Okay, so it said that we are going across the identity matrices. Okay, I mean, not matrix, not the identity matrix, excuse me, the identity line, the line y equals x. So that is represented by 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay. All right. Then we multiply that to our prime, our v prime, which is the 5, -1. And when we put that in our calculator, we should get, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing that we should get -1 and -5. But let's check that, okay? So first, we need to deal with our A matrix. So push second for your matrix right there. But we need to edit. So you go to edit, arrow over to edit. Now, what do we need? Okay, let's go ahead and go over. Okay, we need 0, then 1, 0, 0 needs to be 1. That needs to be 1. And then the last one needs to be 0. Okay. And we have that incorrect. You must back out. You can't just go to another matrix while you're there. Okay. Now what do? We say second, go back to that matrix, go back to edit, arrow down. We need B. Now let's just enter our numbers. We need -5 and -1. Okay. -5. Enter, -1, enter. Okay, back out. Now, we need to multiply A times B. Okay, second matrix, push enter, times, second matrix, and we need number 2. Now, I'm just going to push number 2 this time, and it comes right up, just like we've done in other videos. Okay, push enter, and it's the moment of truth. And there it is. That is our value. So it is -1, -5, which happens to be option D. Okay, let's go to number 8. The point W located at 5, -9, and is rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin to point W. What are the coordinates? Not point W, point W prime. What are the coordinates of this point W prime? Okay, so what do? First, we need the matrix for counterclockwise of 90 degrees. Well, that is 0, -1, 1, and 0. Let me double check. Yes, I am right. And we're going to multiply that to our 5 minus 9. Okay, let's put this in the calculator. Just as before, we will put this in A and multiply it to our B, okay? All right, so second matrix, go over and edit, enter. So looks like it's very close, except right here in this cell, we need -1 and enter. Okay, we're done. Back out. Now we go to second matrix, edit. We're going down to number 2. See that? And there we go. Now we need 5 and -9. Enter down. So you just need a +5 and then a -9 and enter. Okay, now back out. But because we've changed A and B, we can just go up real quick, capture where it's already typed out, and push enter again. And there we go. That's our option. 9, x equals 9, and 5 equals y. Okay, those are our coordinates, 9, 5. Okay, all right, let's go to number 9. All right, it says the point P located at -8, 10, okay, and is rotated 80 degrees about the origin to the point P prime. What are the coordinates of P prime? Okay, I happen to know the matrices for this. Basically, what it does when you have 180 points, 180 degrees to your point. If I am correct, what it does is it leaves the values in their place, but takes the opposite sign. So I'm thinking, now this is off memory from teaching 7th grade. I'm thinking that our answer is 8 and -10. That'd be C. But I'm not making any promises. We need to officially put this in the calculator. I'm saying that we have our matrices of 180, which is -1, 0, 0, -1. And then we multiply that to the -8 and 10. And let's see what happens, okay? So we go second to the matrix, go over and edit this, push enter. Okay, looks like we're going to go to our cell. We have -1, enter, enter, 0, enter again. We need 0 again. Okay, now, and then -1 again and enter. And that should be the correct matrix. Second mode. Now, go back to the matrix, edit. Okay, go to edit. We're going to number 2 this time. Now we need a -8 and then 10. Okay, so I arrow down, -8, enter, 10, enter. Okay, back out. Now we go back up and we're going to pull AB again. Okay, so we have it down there. We edited those, so it should work just fine. So let's push enter. And there we go. 8 and -10, and that is option C. Okay. See, the way I memorized it is kind of the way we show the students in at the middle school levels and have them draw it out and memorize it. Okay. Obviously, I remember it because I've done it a few times. Okay. So let's look at number 10. The point Z prime located at -5, -7 is the result of rotated 90-degree clockwise. Okay. Of a rotated 90-degree clockwise rotation of point Z about the origin. What are the coordinates of Z? Well, that's not too bad. It's a multiplication situation, so we can actually just take the given but we can't multiply it the way it's stated, okay? If they multiply to get to, we're going from, let's say, go from the point to the image. So we go, they're saying that they went from Z clockwise to Z prime. Now, to get the value of Z, we are going backwards. So we have to use counterclockwise. Okay, if you aren't sure about that, tell it to yourself. Okay, what we're doing is we're going backwards. They're saying this is Z prime, but you need to tell me where you started. We gave you the image. Tell us the original point. Okay, that being said, I'm going counterclockwise. And counterclockwise rotation is 0, -1, 1, and 0. Then times my Z prime, which is -5, -7. Now we can put that in the calculator and see what happens, okay? So, second matrix, go over to edit, enter, and we need to change that to 0. Okay, enter. All right, 0, enter, then -1, enter, then 1, enter, then 0. Double check I did it correctly. Yes. Back out. Second matrix, go back to edit, go down to B, your number 2, push enter. So now what do we need? We need -5, enter, -7, enter. Okay, second mode. All right, now you just pop up, grab it again, since you've edited both of them, and enter. And are we correct? Yes, we are. That would be option C, and that will be 7 and -5. Real quick, I'm going to go, I didn't finish these out on the others. But if you don't remember what we were doing, this is what we were doing. Let's spell it out. First, we multiply these two. So that's 0. And then we add that to where we multiplied these two. Okay, then that's 7. Okay, now that takes care of your x value. Now we go down to the y value. Okay, let me, here, I'll just use some other color here. Okay, so then what do? Now we have -5 times the 1. That's -5. Oh, let's, that's not helping for writing. Okay, that's -5. Then we add that to, however, we have -7 times 1. So that is 0. So we add those up. What are we going to get up here? Let's be consistent with what I'm doing. Okay, what am I really going to get? 7 -5, just as we did when we put it in the calculator. So this was very small in elementary. However, if the numbers are, like if you have a 3 by 3, then that gets a little dicey. Then maybe it is best if you set up your A matrix and your B matrix and go about it in that way. Okay, this will be the last video in this first section. And again, guys, I really appreciate everybody that's been watching. It's great. But if you haven't subscribed and you've been watching, or you're going to keep watching, keep these things free. Subscribe and like us and share us. Happy testing.